So you and Rand Paul have had this dust-up about abortion. And, I mean, I understand it's strange that Rand Paul is fighting with you a little bit, but it does bring up a serious issue, as between the two parties in particular. And he keeps saying to the reporters who want him to say whether he supports rape and incest exceptions to abortion, and he hasn't been explicit on that, to your, to your point. He hasn't. He keeps saying, ask Debbie Wasserman Schultz when life begins. When does she believe life begins? Can you answer that question?
The question that he was asked and that he's trying to deflect from by pushing it on me is, does he support exceptions to his opposition to a woman's right to make her own choices?
I gave you that point. I see the point.
And
he has not been explicit on it. But I'm wondering about you, because I have you tonight.
So, from my perspective, from my party's perspective, we do not support rolling back the protection that the constitutional right to make your own reproductive choices established in Roe versus Wade has given to women.
Okay, but let me ask you,
Republicans
let me stop
like
you there and ask you.
Rand Paul did.
Because this is such a dicey issue, and the American public, is very divided on this. As you know, it's not like 90% of the public supports abortion. They do not. And 80% of the
But the majority support a woman's right to choose.
But 80% of the public is against an abortion in the third trimester, and almost 65% is against an abortion in the second trimester. So people are divided on this. And that goes to his point of, at what,
But Megyn, look what we're talking about.
The state has the right to set limits. They have the right to set limits.
Exactly.
And so he's trying to get to the Democrats' position on, at what point is it appropriate to say it's no longer just between a woman and her doctor?
What is appropriate from our perspective, I'll speak for myself, but I think I can speak for most in my party, and that is that a woman's right to make her own decisions about her body should be between her and her doctor. And that in terms of personal liberty, we definitely have a different opinion, Rand Paul and I do. And there is a Supreme Court decision, though, that answers those questions for us, and subsequent Supreme Court decisions that have put limitations.
Says the state has a say, and the state can
and
set
states
limits.
Have made those decisions.
But what it recognized is that it's not just between a woman and her doctor, that the state has a right to step in on behalf of the fetus and say at some point, that fetus does obtain rights. You would admit that you can't have women aborting third trimester babies just on a whim, right? I mean, so you agree there's some limits.
Certainly not on a whim, but when
so
a
that's
doctor...
what he's trying to get at. Where do the Democrats stand on,
We've been very clear.
There's
no ambivalence here. We're very clear. We believe that that decision is best left not to government, but between a woman and her doctor. So there isn't, I can't tell you a specific date and time past which we, in all cases, are certain that that choice shouldn't be made, because that decision is very unique and individual to the woman and should be in consultation with her conscience and her God and her doctor. That is a decision left to her. Mm-hmm. Now, there's an overlay of restrictions that the Supreme Court has imposed through Roe versus Wade and subsequent decisions, and states have gone and implemented their own laws to put those restrictions in place. Okay. That's how the law. Now, I don't agree with all of those restrictions, but the law should be followed, and that's our view.
And we'll
I want to hear from Rand Paul what his view is.
All right, I'm going to call him up and I'm going to tell him that I asked you.
Yeah, and he should stop deflecting and answer the darn question.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Megyn.